Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the 2023 Justice Center Summit. This morning's session is on technology-related assistance for individuals with disabilities. Before we begin, we just want to go over a little bit of Zoom housekeeping to help you enjoy this presentation. This session is a webinar and all participants are muted and off camera. We are recording this session and it will be available later next week on the Justice Center website. For now, please look at the control bar at the bottom of the screen and you'll see the icons. We are using the chat feature today. If you have questions, we ask that you post your question about this session in the chat, and then we will take breaks and ask the questions of the presenters at any time. And we also have closed captioning available, and you can click on the closed caption icon and to start viewing closed captioning. We have some additional instructions for this presentation because some of our presenters will be doing demonstrations, live demonstrations of TRAID equipment, assistive technology equipment. So to better view the demonstrations, you have two options depending on where your computer and where you are, but you can use the view menu option side by side mode and make the window partition, drag it to make it larger or smaller, or you can use the swap screen icon. Option 2 may not be available on your version of Zoom, but the view menu will be available. It should be available to everyone. And here's some pictorial demonstrations of how to use the view options menu. So, and these instructions will be posted in the chat as well, and WRI staff are available to answer any questions if you're having troubles doing this. And the other option is the swap screen icon. You can click to switch between the shared screen and the presenter video so you can see things better. And we are going to have 2 American Sign Language interpreters on this webinar today. As an attendee, you can pin the interpreter's video if that is easier for you to see. So before I turn it over, I just want to remind people once again that this session is being recorded. It will be available on the Justice Center website. So we ask that you sit back and learn as much as you can and ask any questions by using the chat. I'll now turn it over to Melinda Dolezal.
Thank you so much, Davin, and thank you to everybody that is joining us on this fantastic Wednesday morning to learn a little bit about assistive technology. As Davin said, my name is Melinda Dolezal. I'll be walking you through a day in the life using assistive technology. So our goal is to really give you an overview of TRAID, what assistive technology essentially is, and how it can help people be more independent at home, at school, and at work. So basically any single portion of a person's day-to-day life. So we're going to just kind of go through just some overall, what is TRAID? Where did we come from? How did we get here? What are we exactly doing in New York? And what our goals are. So we'll also be talking about, what exactly is assistive technology, or what we call AT. We'll try to keep the acronyms on the down low as much as we can. We'll keep it an acronym-free zone, but we do speak our own little language in TRAID. So if that ever happens, please, pop in a question and ask. We'll also be talking about the benefits of assistive technology. There's a lot, that is updated constantly, in the AT world. We've come a long way in the last, even a couple of years, as far as what is available, going from high tech to low tech, everything in between. And then we'll go through starting at when a person wakes up all the way to when they go to bed at night, some examples of some assistive technology that you may be aware of or you may not be. We'll be joined by some amazing TRAID staff that work with assistive technology every day and that we're extremely lucky to work with. So they'll be showing you a bunch of different examples, again, from the start of a day all the way to the end. And then we'll be sharing some other information that maybe you knew about us and maybe you didn't. Hopefully we'll be able to answer all of your questions. If you think of anything and it pops up, let us know and we'll be happy to look over it. That being said, I'm going to introduce our staff really quickly. Again, my name is Melinda Dolezal, Bob Dole, and that's all folks, or Dole Fruit, that's all folks, depending on what generation you're from. I am the trade director at the New York State Justice Center, and I work with all 12 of our regional trade centers. And I'm also joined by Erin Brunel, who, if you could say a little bit about yourself, Erin, that would be fantastic.
Hello, we're just putting ourselves on camera real quick. We're positioned to do some demonstrations for you guys shortly. My name is Erin Brunel. I'm an occupational therapist and I specialize in assistive technology. So I'm the associate director of our center. And I have with me today my colleague Laura Mack.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Mack. I'm a certified occupational therapy assistant and assistive technology evaluator and instructor here at UBCAT.
Thank you so much, you guys. And this particular trade center is located in the Erie County region, so out in Western New York. You guys cover Niagara, Erie, and I believe obviously a few other counties out there at the far end of the state. And then we're also joined by Casey Thomas, who is our fantastic trade staff down in the Hudson Valley region. Casey, if you could say a couple of words.
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm the trade coordinator here in the Hudson Valley. I cover Ulster, Orange, Rockland, and Sullivan County. I've been in this position for, I believe, going on 3 years now, but I've been in the field for about 12.
Casey joined us during COVID, as did a couple of our staff, and we're extremely grateful that she's here with us, as well as Erin, Laura, and all the other trade staff obviously aren't here today, but if you are interested in meeting them and in seeing who your local trade staff is, we'll be going over who those regional contacts or, the best places to get in touch with them a little bit later in the presentation. So what exactly is TRAID? What do we do? All that good stuff. How long have we been here? Any history people like me, this is fascinating to me, but we'll just give you a little bit of background on what exactly is TRAID. And down in the chat, there is a link to our website that has some more information as well as links to the trade centers themselves. So TRAID is actually a fairly old program in terms of what is in the Justice Center. The Justice Center obviously has several programs that if you haven't heard from, you will be if you are present at some of the other presentations, such as surrogate decision-making, information, or IPSU, or individual family support unit. So TRAID's history starts back in 1988. It was established by the Technology Related Assistance for Individuals with Disabilities Act. And that's where we get our name, essentially. If you didn't know, there's actually a quote-unquote TRAID program in every state and territory in the United States. So if you have a family member that happens to live in California, South Dakota, Texas, Florida, you're on vacation in Puerto Rico or Guam or Alaska, there is an assistive technology program there. We all do essentially the same functions. We offer the same services. We just put a little spin on it. So if you happen to be in Pennsylvania, you would contact Tech Owl or Opportunities for Our Whole Lives. Or if you are in Texas, you contact TTAP. So you're in New York, you're here with TRAID. We were overseen by the Commission on Quality of Care and Advocacy for Persons with Disabilities until 2013. My predecessor, Lisa Rosano, was with the program for quite a while, and she was at CQC. And then when the Justice Center was formed in 2013, TRAID came on board, and we've been with the Justice Center ever since. So we are part of the Office of Outreach, Prevention, and Support, as is some of our sister units, IFSU, as I mentioned, surrogate decision-making, prevention and quality improvement, forensics, and obviously us. So we work very closely together to share resources and make sure that everybody knows kind of who we are and what we do. You may see us at tabling events if you go out and about to things like Get Outside and Get Together Day. We're at several conferences this year, and if you want us to come speak at your meetings or, for your staff, we're always willing to do so. So our goal is to serve New Yorkers of all ages and abilities by promoting greater independence through the use of assistive technology. So assistive technology, and we'll get a little bit more into it in just a second, it varies greatly from person to person. So when I started in the field, and I've been in the field for about 13 or so years, I started as a direct support professional. I've been a Medicaid service coordinator back when that was a thing, community hub, you name it. I come from the OPWDD world. My experience with assistive technology was really wheelchairs, really old Dynaboxes for communication, maybe some durable medical equipment. There's so much more to it, and we want to have as much variety as possible to meet the needs of New Yorkers of all ages and abilities. So in New York, we're actually very, very lucky. We have several state partners that provide us the resources to be able to offer even more options to New Yorkers. As I mentioned, there is an AT program in every state and territory in the country. It is overseen by the Administration on Community Living. So that's kind of what creates us as a program. And it's through this funding and guidance that we're able to provide assistive technology of really any kind to any person of any age. But we also work with 2 state agencies, the Department of Health and the New York State Department of Education, to have even more. So through early intervention, we are able to provide devices and services for children age 0 to 3. So that really critical point when a kiddo is learning potentially how to walk, communicate, be more independent, work on sensory. So EI really helps us be able to do that, in addition to, just kind of a general service program that we get through ACL. In addition, we work with Access VR to be able to provide assistive technology devices and services for individuals looking for education and employment. Typically, this is ages 14 and up, around the age when you would have pre-employment transition services, or PREETs, if you've heard of that. Although we do have some wiggle room. So a lot of the times equipment that we purchase with this funding might be things like note-taking devices for college. It could be, devices for, keeping time at a job. And I mean, even things like grips for gardening tools if somebody wanted to work outside. And when I say purchase equipment, I mean equipment that we can add to our inventory to be able to offer to people to borrow and to learn about. And finally, money follows the person. This is equipment designed to help New Yorkers stay out of nursing homes, stay independent in their own residences as much as possible. So this is a lot of times durable medical equipment, things to help people navigate their communities, be it rollators, walkers, be able to maintain their hygiene, things like shower benches, commodes, things of that nature. So we're very lucky in New York. We are able to offer a lot of variety, and we try to have a lot of things from high tech, as I said, to as low tech as somebody may feel comfortable with. So what the heck is assistive technology? Again, we say AT a lot more than we say assistive technology, because try saying that 5 times fast. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So what exactly is it? It's any item, product, or a piece of equipment that can be used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. Again, what does that mean? It could be anything. As I've said 3 times already, they can be high tech or low tech. So as low tech as large print buttons on a phone or large print playing cards. It could be, we had, suggestions for color coding different things to make them a little bit, potentially easier to understand in terms of different colors to different levels of severity. Or it could be as high tech as a Tobii Dynavox or a very high tech communication device. So within those, that huge spectrum is everything that you can imagine. There are devices that can help people feed themselves, using a switch or a button to be able to manipulate a robot. There are devices that can help people communicate, through iPads, or there's 3D printing that we've been able to utilize to be able to create our own devices. So within that huge spectrum, you name it, we either might be able to have it in our inventory for you to be able to see, or we might be able to refer you to a location or to a resource that has that, even if we don't. So as I mentioned, or maybe I didn't, surprise, there are 12 trade centers throughout New York that cover every single county. So wherever you are, there is a trade center that can help you. This map that you see is a list of all 12. They cover a variety of sizes of territory. So obviously if you look, at the North Country, it's a bigger geographic area, but there's not as many people as maybe in Long Island or New York City. So again, if you are interested in contacting your local trade center, our website has contact information for all 12 of them. If you're not sure who to contact still, I'm always willing to help point you in the right direction, and my contact will be at the end of this presentation. And as we introduced earlier, our 2 amazing presenters are from the Center for Assistive Technology at the University at Buffalo. They cover Erie, Niagara, Orleans, Genesee, and Wyoming counties, and wraparound services of the Hudson Valley that cover Ulster, Sullivan, Orange, and Rockland counties. So one thing that we do get asked from time to time is, if a trade center doesn't have something, is it possible to borrow it from elsewhere? And it depends on the device. Sometimes, if there's a device that somebody, has a lot of that might be out of, for lack of better words, out of stock at a different trade center. We are sometimes able to loan across territory lines, but it depends on what it is, what it's being used for. So if you're not sure, absolutely feel free to contact your local trade center, and then they can take it from there to see what else might be available. We'll also be going over some other resources, even outside of trade, that are a great, place to look for assistive technology resources. So that being said, we've kind of gone over the broad, what is AT, what is TRAID, and there, trust me, I would love to give you more history of, what we do and how AT has evolved over the years. Ask me outside of this presentation. But what are the benefits of assistive technology? Because a lot of times people can get intimidated and say, well, I'm not sure how this works. Is there a learning curve? I've never used this. Sometimes we have people who have never had to use assistive technology for maybe 50, 60, 70, however many years, and all of a sudden they're in a situation where it might be helpful. And people can sometimes be a little nervous. So what are those benefits? And just to give you a sense, we have some statistics from the World Health Association. Today, 2.5 billion people need one or more assistive products, such as wheelchairs, hearing aids, or apps that support communication and cognition. And this number is going to drastically increase by the year 2050 with 3.5 billion. And many older individuals needing 2 or more products as they age. And we really want to emphasize that not everybody uses a device for every single aspect of their day-to-day lives. Some people use more than others. Again, it just depends on the person. But the moral here is that, as we're aging, as the population is progressing worldwide, we're seeing an increase. People are living longer, and they want to be obviously more independent, as anybody would. So in order to, assist with that, one of the ways that, more and more people are looking at is, what can AT do for me or do for my child, my parent, the person that I help at a group home? What are my options? So the benefits in terms of independent living and assistive technology is huge. It's more person-centered. It allows people to kind of look at, what are their strengths, what are their, what are they really, independent at, and what are some ways that they, potentially could benefit from 1 or 2 or maybe more devices. Not everybody has the same abilities, and some people, might be more interested in something than others. And being able to explore that on an individual level is so much better than just, in many ways kind of saying, okay, we'll just kind of do the same that we've done and do it, maybe AT when we need to, and not be exploring options sooner than that. It's also great for, if you have a staffing need. A lot of times people, might have just those 1 or 2 things that they might need help with, but the rest of their day, they're doing whatever it is that they enjoy doing. Could be things like medication devices to help with, memory and remembering what somebody needs to take. Could be, navigating around a residence or the community. It could be help with eating, whatever that looks like. If there's a way to help with staffing and to help with, somebody's overall care and helping them be more independent at the same time, it's a win-win for everybody. It allows more opportunities for community building and decision making to be able to do something more independently. And I know in many ways I'm preaching to the choir, but in order to have that decision making opportunity, to be able to do that without having somebody kind of, behind you, looking over your shoulder, and having to, assist in ways that the person may not necessarily need. Again, that much more beneficial. If people are able to navigate their communities safely, and be that through mobility devices, GPS on their phone, assistance. We'll talk a lot about phones or iPads because there's so much that you can do with those. That can open up a whole new world for somebody. And believe it or not, a lot of them are less expensive than you'd think. Not everything. There are some very high-tech things out there that you'd be surprised how expensive they can be. However, for a lot of the people that come to us for services, we try to start with, the least expensive, most, universally accessible device, and then we kind of can go from there and see what somebody is comfortable with. Not everybody is going to use a high-tech device. Some people don't want that, and that's totally fine. Some people want very, bare bones, but just as useful pieces of equipment. And that being said, when people come to us a lot of the time, sometimes they get nervous and they say, well, I don't know what I want. I know I need this. My doctor has recommended it. My child's therapist has recommended it. What exactly is that? That's where we can help. We know what a lot of these things are. And even if we're kind of, spitballing and saying, well, somebody's interested in a learning device, let's try a few different things and whittle it down that way. So don't ever be worried that, I'm not an expert in these things. That works for us, because then we can kind of, toss a wider net and then pull it in from there. So our goal, with community transition that we always try to highlight is that we want people to be more independent, or as independent as possible, and move into independent living options. My time as an MSc, I worked with, I can't even tell you how many people, and almost everybody wanted to be, either in their own apartment or in a setting where they were able to live as independently as possible, as anybody would. So TRAID has helped, innumerable people, hundreds of people over the last couple of years transition out of nursing homes, congregate settings, certain types of group homes, if it's a temporary residential option, and to be able to maintain independence at home. We also are always happy to provide training and technical assistance to staff who may not be as familiar with the device, so that they feel comfortable working with the person to be able to, assist if there's ever a question in that regard. So that being said, I know that's a lot of information in terms of, again, what we do. And I really can't emphasize enough the benefits of assistive technology when it comes to independence, because we also collect anecdotes and success stories to be able to share with our partners to show, how much of an impact this really does make. Especially through COVID, we had tons of stories of people that, were lonely and wanted to see their families. Our technology helped them to be able to decrease social isolation, be able to, spend time with their family, get to appointments virtually. Not everybody, and we'll get into ways that we can help with that in a little bit. We've had stories of children that were able to, start at a certain point in school in a different situation than they would have without technology. So we really take pride in being able to, do whatever it is we can to help. And if it's something that we're maybe not able to help with, we're able to at least point you in the right direction. Sometimes we'll get questions about things that we might refer you to SSI or Medicaid or a vendor or another resource in your community. So long-winded response. So AT throughout the day. Again.
Melinda, I just wanted to stop because there've been a couple comments in the chat saying how helpful they're finding this presentation, but also how TRAID has helped them personally with the wheelchair, giving them their life back. So I just wanted to give that to you.
And we're so happy that you're here with us this morning, and we're so happy to hear that TRAID has been able to do that, because we get so some of the reasons somebody might contact us might be insurance is taking forever to get back to you. You've gone through the paperwork and now it's just the waiting game, especially during COVID. A lot of times things were delayed. There was a back order of things. We encourage you, come talk to us and see what we have while you're waiting for insurance. We've had people come to us when their grandchildren are getting married and they're coming from out of state and they can't bring their equipment, so they need a rollator to be able to comfortably go see their relative's big day. And we've had situations where something broke and they need something just temporarily until it's fixed, or maybe they just want to try something out and they say, this is fantastic, I'm going to go try to find a way either through insurance or private pay or what have you, or this does not work for me, I never want to see it again. And that's good too, because the worst thing that can happen is you end up with this device and then it doesn't work and then you still need another device. So absolutely, we're so happy that TRAID has been able to help you. Tell your friends and family that we're here and that we want to be able to help more and more people. So AT through the day. There is assistive technology that is, as I said, as broad as I can't even think of a big enough descriptive whatnot. There's so much out there that we wanted to give you just a brief example of, different points in a day that you might see assistive technology. And feel free to, if you're not sure after this, come talk to us, because there is a lot that, is constantly being updated. So at TRAID, we have 10 types of devices that, again, there won't be a quiz, you don't need to remember this, but know that these are the 10 types of things that you might see at a TRAID center. The first is mobility, seating, and positioning. These are things like durable medical equipment, rollators. If you're not sure what a rollator is, it's the walker with the seat that comes down. We hear that a lot. And if you want to, play charades with us, if we're not sure what it is, we'll figure it out. We're very, there's a lot that we have to offer, and we want to be able to do that. Vision is pretty self-explanatory. We have things like magnifiers, different types of equipment that can, help with somebody that, either is maybe never needed a vision device and is at a point where they might benefit from one, or maybe somebody that, has had one their entire lives and just wants to see what else is out there. Hearing devices, same thing. We have everything from pocket talkers to, certain types of hearing aids, with the changes in over-the-counter hearing aids being an option now. We've had a lot of people come to us for resources in that regard, and we can certainly accommodate that if people have questions. Speech communication, this could be everything from, word boards to alternative augmentative communication devices, what we call AAC. It's a wide world out there in terms of what is available for communication. Everybody, prefers something differently, as they should. And, again, come talk to us if you want to see what is out there. Vehicle mods and transportation. This sometimes can get confusing. So we don't modify vehicles. We're not able to do a permanent modification. We can't, we can't weld in something to a vehicle, but we can do temporary things like swivel seats to help people in and out of a vehicle. Sometimes we're able to offer things like grab bars, for the inside of a vehicle, different things like that, adaptive seat belts. Daily living, this is a huge one. Daily living is really everything from making food in the morning, taking a shower, getting dressed. We are able to occasionally, and not every trade center, but some of our trade centers have ramps, usually threshold ramps for in and out of a house. The key with us is we don't offer anything that is permanently attached to a house or vehicle. We want to be able to use this equipment to loan out to as many people as possible, as long as it's safe and able to be loaned. So daily living is a huge category for us, one of the biggest that we get requests for. However, recreation, sports, and leisure is also just as, maybe not just as important, but some people would say maybe just as important, because after you're done at work, at school, whatever, you want to relax, enjoy the day, get out, spend time with friends and family. We're able to offer things that people can use, just to relax. And we're, going to talk about some of those devices later. Everything from recreational, like sports balls, adaptive wheelchairs for going to the beach and biking, all kinds of stuff. Learning, cognition, and development. A lot of these items are things like computers to help with somebody who might need assistance with note-taking, captioning, different things that somebody might use at school. It's a very wide net in that category. Computers and related, very closely, tied to learning, cognition, and development. We do loan out things like iPads and laptops, depending on the reason somebody wants to use it. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the reasons that we do have tablets later on. And finally, environmental modifications. So this might be things like smart home technology, Alexa, or environmental controls. Again, not permanent ones, but things that we can advise individuals on that might be useful if they're interested in maybe an apartment or something that needs monitoring. That could be things like monitoring a stove, making sure the door is closed and locked, cameras to see who is ringing the doorbell, things like that. So again, within these 10 categories, I wouldn't have time to go through all of the things that would fall into them, but you'd be amazed at what is out there and what is available and what becomes available every year. So we just wanted to note a couple of things that we do get frequent questions on. The AT devices that we have in our inventory are purchased for loan purposes, similar to a library. People can come to us, they can take a device home to school, to work, see if it's going to work for them, and then our goal is to have it returned. Typically within 60 days, although if there is a reason that you need it longer, just contact us and let us know. The worst is that, we don't want things walking away or disappearing, and then we have to go purchase new ones for the people that we serve. So When people hear loan, sometimes they think financial loan. That is not something we're able to offer, although there are some amazing loan programs in New York, and we will talk about them a little bit later in the presentation. We also don't have devices that you can purchase. We have had people ask us if they can just buy devices off of us. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that. Occasionally, we do have devices that we can give to someone permanently, and that really only arises if we have devices donated to us. And that happens pretty frequently. People, have something that they outgrow, their child only needed it temporarily, or they needed crutches, and then, for an injury or recovering from surgery, they don't need it anymore. They bring it to us, we clean it up, fix it, donate it back out again. So that does happen from time to time. Feel free to contact us if you're not sure, if we have a device like that. Each trade center has its own inventory and may not have the same devices as another. So shortly, we're going to get to our amazing trade presenters. So they have usually a very similar inventory to one another. They all have things like wheelchairs, devices for preparing food, different things like that. However, some may have more specialized equipment based on where they're located. So for example, a trade center located near where there's beaches might have a beach wheelchair as opposed to one that is landlocked. So just for your own information. And we were able to purchase devices based on what you guys are looking for. So we purchase based on feedback from the community, feedback from providers, feedback from therapists, from early intervention, Access VR, you name it, families in the community. That's how we know. And we're purchasing new things constantly. Our inventory is as new and as relevant as we can make it. We try not to have old, antiquated equipment that isn't really as applicable. You're not going to find anything from the 70s, hopefully, in our inventory, unless somehow it's been that good for that long. And I can't really think of much from that time period. So, let us know what it is that you're interested in. And if we're able to purchase it, we will, again, for somebody to use temporarily.
Melinda?
Yes.
There's a question. Can provider agencies borrow equipment?
Yes. So one thing to note is our equipment is really, when we loan something to somebody, we want feedback from that person and their team specifically. So if you're interested in borrowing a piece of equipment, absolutely feel free, but we want to know, who's using it, because some pieces of equipment are going to work better for some people more than others. So for things like wheelchairs, somebody's height, weight, their hip width is going to make a big difference as opposed to somebody else. So agencies, absolutely. One reason, that people borrow too is to learn about equipment. People come to us and borrow several pieces so that they can, have it available to see how it works, to train their staff. So absolutely. Really there's not a limit on who can borrow, but we try not to let people borrow like 50 things at a time. We want to make sure that we have those available. But yeah, if you have a question about, things you're interested in, contact us and we can tell you what we have available. I hope that answers your question. So I've thrown a lot at you and you're going to have even more, after our quick break. And I do see 2 quick questions. So as far as donating equipment, just contact your local trade center and let them know what you have available. So if it's something that you're not sure if we take, I will say that we don't typically take hospital beds. They take up a lot of space in our inventory and we do have limited space. So there are resources we can refer you to that might be able to take hospital beds. But if you have things like, again, wheelchairs, rollators, shower equipment, we clean everything. Most of our trade centers have what's called a hub scrub, which is the best way I describe it as a giant industrial dishwasher for assistive technology. It goes in, it is completely sanitized. We can wash more than one thing at a time. So that way, when you are borrowing it, you just know that it's in good shape. And if you notice anything on it, just let us know. We'll take a look and we'll see what we can do. So feel free, let us know. If it's something that we can't take, like I said, we'll try to refer you to somewhere else that might be able to take it. And as far as field trips to your local trade center, absolutely. Reach out to the staff to make sure that that they are available, because a lot of the times our staff are bouncing around like jackrabbits on the planes, just trying to get from one place to the other to deliver equipment, to pick things up, to do trainings. Give us a call. We'll try to find a time to sit down with you. Some of our trade centers recently moved, so they're still getting a little acquaintance to the area. So Syracuse, if you guys are there, it's going to be a fantastic space that they've got. They're just unpacking. So absolutely, get in touch with them, see what their schedule looks like. A lot of them do walk-ins. Some of them best practice, just give them a call and see when they're there. Without further ado, I want to give our presenters as much time as possible to show some of the amazing devices that they have available at their trade centers. So we're going to do, as I said, AT throughout the day, starting with somebody's morning all the way up to what their day might look like, and then calling it a night at the end. So to get us started, I'm going to introduce Erin Brunel and Laura Mack, who are two of our amazing staff at the University of Buffalo.
Hello, can everyone hear us okay? I'm hoping so. We did a microphone
Yep,
test.
feel free to-
Haven't changed anything. Okay, perfect. So as Melinda said, we are out in Erie County. We're in Buffalo, New York, and our center supports Erie, Niagara, Orleans, Wyoming, and Genesee counties, all out in Western New York. We've been a trade site for about 30 years, so we have a lot of equipment. It was kind of hard to tease out just a few things to talk about today, but Laura and I have hopefully given you guys a taste of what might be possible for someone as they are starting their day. So this is by no means reflective of all of the technology that's available, but it hopefully will give an idea of the types of things people might use. So first, when we think about waking up, the very first thing we need to do in order to wake up is know what time we should be waking up and get that alarm. So a lot of people might use their smartphones or standard alarm clocks. For someone who has hearing loss, there is an item that's been on the market quite a long time. It's called the Sonic Boom Alarm Clock. I think of this as being helpful for people who have hearing loss, as well as teenagers and tired college students is where I really see this as the most helpful. It actually has two parts to it. So I'm just going to bring the device itself up. It's not currently plugged in, so I can demonstrate it to you. But there is a button for a lamp, so you can actually have a light flash as well. You can, of course, snooze and set your pretty standard alarm clock options. There are options for the volume and the tone as well. So for someone with hearing loss, they may have better hearing when it comes to certain pitches and certain tones. So that's something that you can adjust. And then the volume is on this other side. About half of the front of this device is a speaker. So that's where it gets that sonic boom from. And then on the back, there are two ports. One is a lamp, and that's where you plug in just your standard lamp. It's just a two-prong outlet, and it would flash the light. The second part is actually what's called a bed shaker. So this is, it just is, just a little disc that I would plug into the light or into the clock, excuse me. And there's this port, and this entire thing I could put under my mattress or under my pillow, and it would actually vibrate as an indicator that I should wake up. So it has a couple different modes to be able to really alert someone that it's time to get up, being the sound, the visual of the light flashing, and then also the kind of tactile of the vibration. So there's a lot of options here. Just for everyone's information, because I don't want to play the extra loud alarm clock on the webinar, I looked up some comparisons. So this is it plays at up to 113 decibels. And for reference, 60 decibels is like a normal conversation someone might have, or like an electric toothbrush, all the way up to about 110, where our 113 range falls, is essentially equivalent to a jackhammer or a motorcycle. So it can get very loud, and of course you can adjust the volume so it doesn't have to be that loud. But there's a lot of different options that this one device has to really get someone out of bed and really start the rest of their day. If there are any questions about specific devices as we go on, feel free to pop them in the chat. We are monitoring the chat, but otherwise we'll go ahead and jump to the next slide, which is getting out of bed.
Okay. So of course, after your alarm goes off and you're woken up, the next step in your day is getting out of bed. So there are some assistive devices that can assist an individual with doing that. If perhaps you have limited mobility, limited strength, balance, whatever the case may be, This is an example of a bed rail. There are a lot of different models. This is the M rail produced by Drive Medical, named after its slightly M shape on the top here, with some horizontal bars at varying heights to accommodate, the best height for the user. And then along the bottom side, we have horizontal bars, and these bars slide underneath the mattress of the bed, as shown in the picture on the slide. And it also includes some straps at the very end of the bars that can be strapped around the mattress, and they are extra long straps so they can accommodate all different sizes of mattresses. The other device we don't have pulled out, but it is depicted on the slide, and I'll verbally describe it, is the step to bed. This is essentially like a wide-based stepping stool that does also have handles for extra support and stability. It acts as a step to assist you in getting in and out of bed. And it does also include a sensor motion censored light. So when activated, the user can better see where they're stepping as like an added safety feature. And that light stays on for about 30 seconds once activated.
Awesome. And just a comment I'll make about the bed rail, this was something we recently found out, is that there are different weight limits for those bed rails. So bed rails are, they've been around for a long time. Oftentimes you can buy them even at like a pharmacy. They're pretty readily available. If you are looking at purchasing of something like a bed rail for someone, check and see if it can bear weight. Because someone, for example, who's recovering from a surgery may want to put some of their weight on the rail. And the one that we showed had straps that go around it, so it can support some weight, but there's others that actually are not able to support weight. So just something to think about. And then moving on to using the bathroom, taking a shower. There's a couple of things on the slide. One of them we do have out to show you, but to talk about the first one, that's a powered bath lift. So it's actually similar to like a tub bench, if anyone's ever seen something like that, where it's a bench that essentially has 2 legs out of the tub, 2 legs in the tub, so that you can sit down and kind of slide over and remain seated while you're taking a shower or a bath. What's hard with those tub benches is they don't go all the way at the bottom of the tub. So if someone, it's really meaningful for them to take a bath, or it's something that they really enjoy doing, they find relaxing, as we all do, taking a nice relaxing bubble bath, that tub bench doesn't really allow you to do that. So there are what's called a powered bath lift. The one that we have in our center and that's depicted on the screen is called the Whisper bath lift. It's by Drive Medical as well. And it's actually battery operated, which I know might sound a little scary because it's a battery that's going into the tub, which I actually researched that a bit, knowing that for myself, that felt a little odd. The battery itself is actually in the remote. So it might be hard to tell from the picture, but there is a handheld remote that is wired to the back of the device. The battery lives in that remote, and the mechanism for the device is along the back side of the tub, or along the back side of the seat itself. So the remote can stay out of the tub, but rest assured, if it does get wet or it gets in the tub, it is all sealed. So it's not a hazard. Of course, if there was damage to it, it could become a hazard. And that's, I'm sure outlined in like 10 pages in the user manual. But that's something that's a question we've received before. But essentially you'd use, just like, another lift, you would use the remote to press your down button. It would lower you into the tub. You can take your nice relaxing bath. And when you're done, you use that same remote and press the up button and it raises you up. So that's the first device. The second one is essentially an alternative to something like toilet rails. So this is a toilet safety frame. This is also by Drive Medical. They're a really popular durable medical equipment manufacturer. And this is an option for someone who maybe doesn't need the rails all the time. Maybe it's a shared bathroom and there's other people in it who sometimes the rails can be challenging for someone else to use. So someone in the home may need them. Someone else may really be challenged by having them there. So this is removable. And this is actually something that my grandmother uses this. She's got arthritis in both hips and knees and really everywhere. But she uses a raised toilet seat, and she found that the raised toilet seat with the rails on it just didn't work well for her because it wasn't a wide enough base with the handles. So this was an alternative where she was able to put it around her toilet and the handles were in a good position to help her stand up. And because it is removable, we actually purchased one to leave at my parents' for when she's visiting there. So it's something we could add to the toilet and then take back off without any type of assembly. It's just something you place in front, you can pick up and take out. So that's a nice alternative to some other rails as well. And ours is just in the box, but you can tell it is a pretty small box. I mean, everything right now would need to be assembled, but all of the pieces to assemble it are screws that you can tighten by hand. So it is something that can even be disassembled and stored away, which is kind of a bonus for our loan program when we can put something back in a box and put it away on a shelf.
Right. So next is dressing. After we, gotten up and taken a shower or bath, some people may need some extra assistance getting dressed. And these are dressing aids that can help people either maintain or regain their independence when it comes to dressing themselves. The first being a dressing stick. These, again, come in many makes and models, but a lot of them are designed very similar to this one that's available through our loan closet. The main shaft is like a wooden dowel, and then there are hooks on either end. The larger of the hooks is more intended for, pulling on fabric. So whether you're, as in the picture on the slide, pulling on a shirt or a jacket, or you're pulling up your pairs of pants, or maybe pulling off a pair of socks. And then at the other end of the dressing stick is a C-shaped hook that's smaller in size, and that would be used more for like pulling at the loops on your shoes or zippers. Again, great for individuals who experience limited mobility because it adds that extra length that we may not have available to us. And then the other device that's popular for dressing oneself, and keep getting close to the camera and then I'm cutting off my face, but is the sock aid. And those again come in many different models. We've got two here. One is just a solid, like a harder plastic, and the other model is more malleable, has more bend to it. But essentially you place your sock around the one end of the sock aid, and then as depicted in the picture, you can drop the sock aid to the ground and then use the strings or straps attached to the sock aid to pull your sock onto your foot. And this is great because, again, if we have limited mobility and can't or shouldn't, maybe we've just had surgery, like a hip surgery, and have those hip precautions where we shouldn't be bending at our hips and we can't bend down towards our feet to pull those socks on. These are the type of devices that still allow us to put our own socks on.
And then next we have making food and eating breakfast. So we do have one tool for each of those. So when it comes to making food, one of the things that we have available in our loan closet is an automatic pan stirrer. So essentially it's a battery operated piece. So I just took the top right off. There's 4 AA batteries in it, and there are 3 legs along the bottom. So what I do is I put this in the pan and I press the power button that's on the top, and it's going to, in a circular motion, stir my food. So I can actually demonstrate it on the table. You'll hear it buzzing because I'm not currently cooking, unfortunately. And because as I pressed those buttons, it just cycled through the 3 different speeds and then turned off. Because it's on the table, it did travel a little bit, but that's one piece of feedback that we've gotten about just reading some of the forums and things that people have posted, is that it is pretty static in the pan. So while it does stir, it doesn't, it's not the same as someone scraping the bottom of the pan while they're cooking to make sure something doesn't stick. So a smaller pan tends to be better. And in the image that's on this slide, it actually looks more like a rounded pot that someone is maybe making soup in, and that may be a really good use for it. So this is a great example of something that you might want to try before you decide it will work for you, because depending on what you cook, if you're making a big pot of red sauce, it might not work for you. But if you're making smaller pans, warming up soup or different things like that, it might be a good fit. For eating, I'd like to show the liftware level. So liftware actually has a couple different models. The first one was called the liftware steady, and that was intended for someone who has tremors. The liftware level is more intended for someone who has limited mobility in their upper extremities. So someone who maybe isn't able to rotate their hand in order to bring the food up to their mouth. This entire, essentially the utensil is intended to keep the food level, hence the name. So right now it comes in two parts. So there's the handle that I have, there's a strap on the handle. So I have that around my hand. And then in my left hand, I have just a spoon attachment. And I'm gonna line these up and they're gonna connect. And now if I pointed my thumb towards the ceiling, my spoon stays level. So I'm just gonna zoom in on this a little bit. So I can point my thumb up and my spoon is gonna stay level. This particular model also will do rotation. So I can rotate my hand and it will also stay level. There is a fork attachment as well, and the attachments are dishwasher safe. This model, unfortunately, is currently out of stock everywhere. It's out of stock on their own website and Amazon. And I think that might be an attestation to just how well it's worked for some people.
Another important part of a lot of people's lives is taking our medications. And there are definitely some assistive devices that can help us with doing that, maintaining independence. One high-tech option is the PRIA, made by Black & Decker. This is a smart medication manager. So it can be set up with an accompanying app, which does require a subscription. So there's a PRIA app that you could load on your smartphone. And then essentially you load the meds into this device, and then it dispenses the medications based on the set schedule. And it will only, in theory, should only be dispensing to the person intended. So at the time specified, the alarm will go off. It'll tell the person whose medication it is that it's time to take a med. They have to either use facial recognition or plug in a 4-digit PIN number in order for their med to be dispensed, which dispenses into the little, it comes with a little glass cup, shot glass, essentially. So the pills dispense into that. I believe the alarm will go off for intermittently for an hour to let the person know that their med is ready to be dispensed. If that hour passes and the individual has not retrieved their med, it just logs it into the system as it was a missed dose. And then you can also, through that app, link in certain caregivers, like family members who want to be aware of the individual's med habits. Like if they've missed a dose, they get notified of that. So again, the downfall of the PRIA, I'd say, is that it does require a subscription, which has a fee attached to it each month. And our subscription is not current, so I can't really demonstrate it much further than that. But I will open the back here to show you that like many of the medication management assists, it has 28 slots for doses. So for example, if someone is taking medications twice a day in the morning and at night, that would be 2 weeks worth of meds that you can preload in here.
Here's a question. Does that also dispense liquid medication?
No, only pills. Great question. We have, for demonstration, we just have pony beads loaded in there, but yeah, only pills, capsules or hard pills. No liquid medication can be distributed through that.
Are there any, just to follow up, are there any devices that you're aware of that can do liquid medication administration?
As a
Yeah,
question,
not
are you aware?
not that I'm aware of. The another option that I'd really like to purchase at some point, but we've had issues with tax exempt purchasing, is the MedCube. It's made out in Rochester, and with that there's a lot more control than the Priya provides. It doesn't have the subscription and so on, and that is a much larger device. I don't know for sure, but that I wouldn't be surprised if you can do liquid medications through, because it's larger. So presumably you can pour it into an area. What a challenge is, a lot of those liquid medications do have to be refrigerated. So that kind of adds an additional design challenge to a lot of these medication dispensers. So that's a great question. It's not one that we'd really considered before.
Yeah, thinking.
For our next demonstration, this is we're going to replicate essentially a car, a vehicle in a car, or a seat in a vehicle with our handy chair right here. So this is called the slide and ride. It is a transfer assist that extends the car seat. So someone can essentially sit down at the end of it and then slide over and hang their legs in. So crouching down into a vehicle is something that a lot of people might have barriers with. I always think back to my grandma as an example. She had her hip replaced in the middle of last year, and before her hip replacement, I mean, bending or doing anything that low was extremely painful for her. So this would have been something that she'd be able to sit down on outside of the vehicle. So there's a little bit more comfort. It would still be painful for her in that case, unfortunately, but there's a little bit more comfort when you're sitting outside. You're not then ducking your head and trying to pull yourself in while you're also seating. So it really helps you control your body movements a little bit more. With this device, it is portable. So one thing that I like the attachments on it a lot. So there's actually just little clips that I can fold everything up with. And then when I'm done, I can fold the legs right in, and then I can just pick this up with the handle and put it in the trunk of my car. So this is a nice device that could potentially be really useful to get to people to doctor's appointments, and really, out grocery shopping, anything like that, that maybe otherwise they might avoid just because of the vehicle barriers.
All right, bring this table back. Our last category is work in school, and this is a very broad topic. There could be a lot of assistive technology that could fall into this category, but for the sake of time, we're just going to talk about ergonomic keyboards and mice. Something that frequently get used, the workplace or in a school setting. So when we talk about ergonomically designed computing equipment, we're talking about things that essentially allow our body or our body parts to remain in a more neutral position. And the more neutral position is desired because that's going to prevent muscle strain and prevent potential injuries, such as, carpal tunnel is a very common problem that a lot of us experience from pressure on that medial nerve wrist. So when it comes to ergonomic keyboards, again,
Was it prevent abuse?
oh, the link on the slide for the justicecenter.newyork.gov/prevent.
Yeah, I hope Melinda should go down and talk about that link that showed up on the slide.
It's an Easter egg for everybody paying attention. Did anybody else notice it? Then you win the game.
Oh, great.
You won.
Congratulations, Aaron and Laura.
So when it comes to ergonomic keyboards, a lot of them And again, as with a lot of the devices we've talked about, there are quite a variety of makes and models of these. The two I have here, a lot of ergonomic keyboards will feature what you'll see is like at the bottom is like a wrist rest. Again, all about keeping the, offering support to the wrist, keeping it comfortable, because a lot of us are using these devices for extended periods of time, and we want to avoid straining the muscles. Okay. And then there are also lots of different kinds of ergonomic mice. One example, this is an example called a lift mouse of a vertical mouse. So instead of whereas you would normally have your wrist pronated over a regular standard computer mouse, this allows you to keep notice how it allows you to keep your hand in a more upright, like you're shaking somebody's hand, just that neutral, natural position. So again, all sorts of devices out there that can allow us to use a computer in a much more comfortable way for a longer period of time.
Awesome. We want to make sure we leave some time for Casey. Sorry, I think we ran a little bit over, but if there are any questions, we can see the chat, so we're happy to type back some specific answers in the chat as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Erin and Laura. You guys really, I can't say enough good stuff about how much these guys and their other staff at UB, because it's a great team over there, really have done amazing work with local schools like the Niagara School District, helping their teachers learn about different features and accessibility. And Erin in specific is one of our accessibility gurus. She is extremely knowledgeable about that particular area and really the importance of it in really every aspect, be it work, school, everything in between. So if you have any questions for them, feel free to put it in the chat. I bet you thought you were done hearing from me for a while, but I'm just going to pop in really quick and mention very briefly the Justice Center telehealth project. We have been working on this for a little bit now, and this particular project is the creation of 3 short videos that can be used by individuals who may not be experienced in using telehealth or with iPads in particular. So this kind of came out of a suggestion from our individual or interagency partnership on assistive technology, our IPAT group. These videos will be available online on our website. They will be available in English and Spanish. The first video is a step-by-step guide on how to use an iPad, how everything from charging it to using Wi-Fi to just any other, hopefully any other basic settings commands that somebody might need. We had a lot of people that we were able to loan iPads to, especially during COVID, who had never used them before, and they kind of became big paperweights. So our goal with this is for people to be able to use this, when TRAID is closed. If they have a question, it can be used obviously for telehealth appointments in particular, but it's applicable really to just interacting, joining a club and being able to use an iPad for social isolation. The second video is a little bit more in depth on different components of a telehealth appointment, things to consider, making sure that you're in a private place, that nobody can hear you, making sure that you're touching base with your doctor for any needs that you might have. And the third video is designed for medical professionals and professionals in general, just on reminders on the importance of things like just being patient, understanding that not everybody, goes to an appointment and can just jump right in. Some people need a little bit more time, or they might need, considerations for reasonable accommodations. So keep your eyes open for that in the future. This is a really exciting project for us and one that we're going to be talking about more and more in the future. So I want to give Casey as much time as possible. Casey is, again, our amazing staff in the Hudson Valley and has done a lot of great work with recreation. And, we've talked a lot about, kind of doing the stuff that you do to go to school, get ready for your day, but at the end of the day, we want to relax and have fun. And we have Casey here to talk about some of those things that you might be able to utilize. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Hello. Do I have access? I do. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about different types of equipment that you can use for grocery shopping. Seen in the picture here, you see the Caroline cart. The Caroline cart came out in 2008. Drew Ann is a mother of a 7-year-old girl who has Rett syndrome. And she noticed that when she was going shopping, she didn't have the availability to bring her daughter with her. So her and her husband developed these carts. You can find them in stores such as Walmart, Target, Adams, if you have an Adams near you, Hannaford, as well as quite a few other stores. And then another piece of adaptive equipment that you can do is something like this. I'm not sure if everybody can see that, but here you have it's 3D printed. We have a 3D printer located here in the TRAID office, if you can see it right here behind me. We use that to make different things, but what this is a bag holder. So it provides more support, and then you can hang a bag from here. You can hang 3 different bags or 1 bag with more support, depending on the availability and the strength in your hands. Besides that, you have quite a few other things. You have the rollators that have the baskets underneath. You have quite a few different options for grocery shopping. Next, we have playing sports. So here you'll see the cones, you'll see the tennis rackets. They're lighter weight, so that way they're easier for others to hold, as well as a built-up handle. And then you'll have the bocce ball set. The bocce ball set is more so weighted than your typical bocce ball set. Another device you can use is it's a bat assist. Here, I'll grab it right here. 1 second. So if you can see here, what it is you have a bat attached here, and then you're able to swing it with this handle right here. And you can also put things like a hockey stick. You can put the tennis racket. You can put all types of different types of equipment onto it, and it gives you the availability to swing a bat or swing a racket that you've never been able to before. We have recently partnered with Bambino Buddy Ball, located here in Kingston. And what we do for that is we can loan equipment such as this to bring individuals that aren't usually able to play sports and allow them to play on a team. So that is something new to TRAID as well. Next, you have sensory needs. So sensory is learning through exploration, curiosity, problem solving, and creativity. You'll see here a weighted vest. It's also a compression vest, so you can put different types of weight on there in the pockets inside of it, as well as tight as you want. There's Velcro strips right on the side, so you can make it tighter or looser. And then you have the roller, which you'll see on the right-hand side with the child in it. What that is, it compresses them and they just roll through it, and then it's a sensory for the pressure on either side of their body. And then also with a 3D printer, you can print things like this. It's just like a little fidget that you go up and down, and it's a little bolt. And then you can have things like the fidget spinner that you can spin around, as well as things like the Flexi Rexy. He just sits there and you can wiggle him around, things like that. It keeps the hands busy, allows for better concentration, things along that line. And then you also have more textile things. You have the weighted blankets. There's all types of different sensory needs for every type of child or adult, anybody that needs them. And if you had any questions about that, you can definitely reach out. We have shelves full of different types of equipment. And then also with a 3D printer, we can print out anything that you could have an idea of. So biking and going to the beach. Here I have really focused on the bike. You'll see a picture on the left is the Easy Roller. That's the sizes that we have here are for children. What you do is you would sit in it and then you would move your feet back and forth, and it allows you to propel forward. Then you have things like the Go Grit bike. You'll see that later on in the slides. And what that is it allows you to go on hiking trails. So around here in the Hudson Valley, we have quite a few hiking trails that are not handicapped accessible, but with the Go Grit chair, or with the Go Grit wheelchair bike, it allows you to go over roots and stones and any type of terrain that you would see on a hiking trail. And for the beach wheelchair, Melinda had mentioned it a little bit earlier. We don't have a beach relatively near us, but with living in the Hudson Valley, quite a few times it's been requested as people do go on vacation to different beaches. The one in the picture is exactly like the one that we have. It has wider wheels, and the wheels allow you to move more freely on the sand, and it is also able to go into the water. So somebody can push you right into the water, and you can feel the waves come up on you. And another thing that I have noticed with the beaches around is that they have started to install ramps that lead you right from the top where it's paved, the parking lot, all the way down the sand to the water to allow for easier access for wheelchairs. And then another option for adaptive bikes would also be like a Riften adaptive bike. We have every size of those as well, the small, medium, and large. They're great for inside use as it has a stand that you can use within your living room. And then they're great for level ground. So parking lots, sidewalks, but anything that has any type of bumpy terrain, a Riften adaptive bike would not be suitable for something like that. Next, we have playing cards. So playing cards is something that when you're sitting around the kitchen table, maybe right after dinner, waiting for dessert, you'll sit with your family and play cards. We have things like shown in the picture, which are large print cards. And then we also have ones that have like a textile feel to them, where you'll be able to feel like a raised K or a raised A to be able to feel if you can't see what your cards are. Another thing with the 3D printer is you have items like this. And what this is it has a little stand if you want to hold it right in front of you, but also it holds your playing cards for you. I don't have any playing cards next to me, so I'm using my business cards, but you can put your cards in here so that way you can see them easier, and it's a wider base for you to hold. And then watching TV. This one is a big one because not everybody has the availability or the dexterity to be able to use a remote, as the buttons are small, especially with the more popular TVs now, the Roku. As you see in the picture, the buttons are very small. But Roku has come out with a voice command remote. So what this is it's hands-free. You don't need to touch the remote in any capacity. As long as the remote can hear you, you can turn the TV on, you can change the channel, you can turn the volume up, you can turn the TV off, you can manipulate the settings such as like the sound, theater mode, things like that as well. And then we also have things like the Alexa. So Alexa can be set up through a smart home, which can control your TV the same way a Roku can. So if you don't have a Roku remote or a Roku TV, you can use Alexa. And what you would say is, Alexa, turn on the TV. Alexa, change to channel 32. Whatever channel you wanted or the volume, Alexa would be able to control. The other option would be to the picture on the right. And what that is it's a typical remote. It's like a universal remote. So you can purchase this remote, and it is the wide handle, and you'll be able to see the buttons easier and manipulate it better if you don't have the dexterity for the littler buttons. And then next we have calling it a day. Calling it a day. So when you get ready for bed, as Melinda said earlier, we don't take in hospital beds. Hospital beds take up quite a bit of space, and space is a huge issue in many trade centers as we have so many pieces of equipment. So what I have found is the bed lift, which is the photo all the way to the right. And what it is it lays right down on your traditional mattress, and with the handle that you'll see pictured on the side, you can manipulate it from a laying down position to a sitting up position, and it can go all the way back down, or it can stop in the middle. What this does is it allows you to have the availability of a hospital type of bed without having to change your mattress. And you can still, if you can still use it, you can travel with it. It does come on it, like the cushion and the sheet on it do come off for easier cleaning. The pillow as well, you can change the pillow out. And this has been a huge help in our center to loan out when people are looking for hospital beds. In addition to that, you have things like Erin had mentioned before, which is the bed rails. These will allow you to stay in bed if you don't have the ability to roll over and maybe you move to the edge, or it helps you sit up and lay back down. As Erin said, some are weight bearing and some are not. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Another thing that can help, like I mentioned before, is the Alexa. If you have Alexa set up in your home for a smart home, you can say, Alexa, turn on my light. Alexa, turn off my bedroom light. And that will control your ability to do that as well. Another thing that you can do is called Genie. Genie is an app that you don't need any type of subscription or anything. You can buy a light bulb at Target, Walmart, Rite Aid, anywhere that sells light bulbs will have this specific brand. And what it is you would put it in your ceiling light or a lamp, and it is Bluetooth connected to your phone, and you can turn it on and off. And that also works for if you're not in the room yet. If you're in the living room, but the light is in your bedroom, you can control it still from the living room. So that is a great option as well for people who want to be able to walk into a room that's already lit instead of waiting to walk into a dark room. And then next we have our video. And this video is just a demonstration of equipment that is used quite frequently in different scenarios, and it was recorded here in our office, in our facility. I don't have the ability to start it though. So as you see here, we had quite a few different options for equipment and how it was used. You have art, you have ways to do art, which is the built up paint brushes. We also have a switch adaptive spin art for those of us that are a little bit older that have played with our spin art machines when we were younger. We have that as well. And then we also have board games like Monopoly, Monopoly Junior, Pie Face. We have all types of different games that are switch adaptive to make it more accessible for everybody. So our goal is to make everything inclusive for everybody to partake. If you guys have any questions, I am able to answer them.
There are no questions in the chat right now.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Casey. And again, just to shout out, all of the praises of all the trade centers. We are able to do what we do because of them. And honestly, between Casey's just absolute awesome, what she does with 3D printing, it's a sight to behold. So definitely reach out if you have questions about that. If you have ideas for 3D printed items, several of our trade centers are starting 3D printing. And if you're not sure who, feel free to reach out. So I know we're coming up short on time, so I'm just going to throw out a couple of additional resources that can hopefully help you choose AT for yourself, your family members, the people you work with or support. Your local trade centers, that is our website up there. I know it was shared earlier in the presentation, but that's the link to get to it. We also have a printable handout on there that lists all 12. AT3 is our technical assistance resource that provides a ton of different information on AT. They have a website that goes through a lot of what we talked about today and even more. Feel free to check them out. And also the Georgia Assistive Technology Program has a resource called Tech Tools for Life, very similar to the AT3 Center, but also a great resource that anybody can use and explore different options that are out there. And just some quick additional resources, obviously TRAID is here for equipment loans for the actual devices, but if you're interested in financing different AT devices, if it's not coverable through insurance, or if you want to see if there's grants out there, check out the Equipment Loan Fund through the Office of Children and Family Services. It's super underutilized and super duper helpful, as well as ABLE loans. They're both low interest loans at 4%, very flexible in working with people and very easy to work with. Links to both of those are available on that slide, as well as a list of independent living centers throughout New York. 7 of our trade centers are at independent living centers, but I can't shout their praises enough. The resources they have available go from benefits advisement, waiver questions. So many of them have food pantries. A lot of them have resources such as briefs that people can use, like adult diapers. They have donated equipment that we wouldn't be able to use because you use it once and it's yours. So check them out. Several of them have independent living, several of them have loan closets as well. They're always a fantastic resource. And one last thing, and then I did see one other question in the chat. We do have an advisory council, so if TRAID is something that interests you and you want to be more involved, help us, point the direction in the services that we offer and be more inclusive throughout the state, reach out to me. Our IPAC council meets twice a year for about an hour or two. It's a great chance to network with agencies across the state and individuals that either use assistive technology or their families. We're always looking for new people, so feel free to reach out and contact myself. That's how you do it. That is my email and my phone number. Feel free at any time if you have questions, either reach out to myself or our wonderful presenters that we had here this afternoon, morning, whatever time it is. I did see a question about how do, bear with me. With the cycle popularity, the popularity of cycle shares, how can we generate interest from municipalities to promote trade? Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, dogs, cousins, uncles, aunts, that we're out there, we're willing to come talk to them. We do a lot of technical assistance, and that is kind of helping people to look at systemic change in their communities, and that could be increasing accessibility. It could be, finding ways to make resources more accommodating, whether that's through assistive technology or, through, again, just accessibility through websites and resources. Tell everybody that, might be interested, and then we can take it from there. Reach out to us directly, reach out to your trade centers. We're happy to come in and consult with different, questions that you might have. And yes, my contact information is in the chat. There was a question about the PRIA being available to borrow because that was Buffalo. Do you guys loan that out, or do you have that just in your center for people to come see?
Hi, so we do have it available as a demonstration only because it does require an app to be connected to it. I am expecting, I've had some issues with getting the essentially demo version of the subscription available, which is why currently right now the subscription has lapsed. But once that is resolved, we can demonstrate that item to any of the 5 counties in our area. And if it's something you're interested in, I'd encourage, if you're outside of our Western New York region, I'd encourage you to reach out to your trade site directly, and perhaps it's something they can purchase, they may already have, or they may have alternatives as well.
Exactly. So even if, your local trade center is, maybe outside of Buffalo or the Hudson Valley, and they don't have the exact make and model that you're looking for, they might have an alternative that might work, either just as well or maybe even better. So again, we'd encourage you to reach out. If you have a hard time getting in touch with your local trade center, let me know. We don't want you guys out in a lurch, not hearing back. So again, my contact is on the screen right there. The PowerPoints will be available for all attendees, and our information is on the Justice Center website. So get in touch with us, send carrier pigeons, snail mail, email, you name it. We do try to get back to people as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you, Melinda. It was a great presentation. Everyone have a great day.